Coming up on This Week in Radio Tech, we're talking to Charlie Wooten. Charlie's in the Panhandle of Florida. Well, you know, they got a heck of an ice storm last week. And in fact, Milton, Florida got 10 inches of snow. They got snow and ice there like nobody had ever seen in their lifetimes before. How did that affect broadcast operations? Well, you better believe it did. And Charlie, a southern boy, learns a few things that some of you northern people already know, but Charlie kept his stations on the air and transmitting just great. That's coming up next on TWiRT.
This Week in Radio Tech is brought to you by Broadcasters General Store with outstanding service, savings, and support. Online at bgs.cc. By Broadcast Bionics with the Bionic Studio, including talk show control, social media, and visual radio. Broadcast Bionics brings exceptional audience engagement to radio and TV. By Air, featuring Playout One radio automation software, comprehensive streaming solutions, website content management, and social media tools for maximum listener engagement on the web at AIIR.com. By Angry Audio. Audio problems disappear when you get angry at angryaudio.com. And by Max Connect Wireless, prioritized high-speed internet service designed for transmitter sites and remote broadcasts.
Hey, welcome into This Week in Radio Tech, the show where we talk about everything from the microphone to that light bulb at the top of the tower. Hey, I'm Kirk Harnack, your host. Delighted to be here. If you're watching live, we are on an hour later than usual because that's when our guest could make it. And our guest was very important to me this week because of some amazing weather events that happened last week. I'm in the Nashville studio. Last week we did the show from Hawaii, but I'm back here in Nashville today. And that's good. I'll be here, I think, until NAB. I'll be right here in Nashville. Chris Tarr is under the weather like a lot of people are right now. He said he is not feeling well and hasn't rolled out of bed. He's feeling so bad. But anyway, glad to be here. I got to see a doctor yesterday and got some antibiotics flowing through the veins. All right, enough of that. Let's get our guest. Our guest has been through, a whole lot of weather events and whatever trouble you can have with a transmitter site, he's been through it, and he's been on the show before. I introduced him as your friend and mine, Charlie Wooten. Charlie, it is so good to see you. Let me get you on the screen here. Hey, how you doing? Good to see you.
Good to see you.
You're coming to us from where today?
I'm in my office in Panama City, Florida, at the Out Building.
Okay. So yeah, that's a building where I have visited you before. Seems like when I was there before, maybe they had just built you a new STL tower after Hurricane Michael came through.
That's correct.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Wow. What a memory. How many years ago was that?
That was in 2018. So it's 6 years.
Okay. That makes sense. Yeah. I was on a driving trip. I drove all the way down there to see you.
Yeah. That's, and what's so weird, Kirk, is that we're going to be moving into a new building. Probably middle of the year.
Oh.
We with the way radio is these days, when we built this building in 1998, we had 46 employees.
Mm-hmm.
And now we don't have 46 employees. Mm. And so we just don't need this building anymore. And so we're going to be downsizing into a smaller building, and we'll be doing that sometime, and we should be occupying it June, July.
Don't disclose anything that you can or shouldn't, but is that a building that iHeart owns, or are you guys leasing it from someone?
We're leasing it.
Okay, so that makes sense to downsize. If it's a building that you own, you could keep the building even.
Actually, I think I misunderstood you. We own this building here,
mm-hmm.
and it's been sold to a medical group.
Oh, okay.
But we are leasing back our building, a portion of our building, until we move into the new building.
What does the medical group have any use for an STL tower?
Well, we're going to be using these fiber things. We're not going to have any more RF STLs, unfortunately. Not my call, but that's just the way things are turning out these days.
Well, that brings up a question. When you do fiber for your STL, is that the same fiber service that's used for people's internet, or is that some kind of special private or semi-private fiber?
In some cases, it is special fiber. In the case of our Owenwood Road Tower, it's well, actually, now that I think about it, all of it is commercial fiber, I guess we could say, opposed to residential fiber. Gotcha. And it's for the most part underground fiber.
Okay.
which is good in a hurricane, but bad when you have a backhoe crawling around.
Gotcha.
But we're going to have 2 entry points for data using what they call software-defined WAN, and so we'll have a seamless switchover using cellular data.
Yeah.
And it's almost an immediate, instantaneous switch. I played with it in Tallahassee when I actually put our Gates Air IP 100 over there. That's on WGMY. I unplugged the Comcast modem, and it just kept on trucking.
Yeah, didn't miss.
There was a little blip, and that was
okay.
it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Does that mean? And we ought to do a whole show on this topic sometime about SD-WAN. Because I hear other radio groups employing this technology as well. But does this mean that data is flowing on both paths at the same time, or does it actually tell the backup one to start flowing now when the first one dies?
Data is showing up simultaneously.
Okay. All right. Good. Because there's other ways to do that, but SD-WAN is kind of the clean, IT-centric way to get that done. I've got some of the Omnia MPX nodes that stream micro MPX, and they have 2 network interfaces on them, and you can simultaneously stream the same micro MPX to both of them, and there's never a blip switching over because it just tosses I've already got that packet. I've already got that packet, and it does that 200 times a second. and until one of them goes away. Oh, thanks, I needed that packet. Good deal. Hey, Charlie, we're gonna we take an early break in the show. If I can, by the way, friends and folks, our good friend Suncast, our normal producer for the show, he's on vacation. He is floating on a cruise ship somewhere right now, and good for him. I hope he's nice and warm. But that means that Kirk Harnack is technical producing today's show, and that could be pretty interesting. I'm stalling right now because I'm looking for I'm looking for the thing I want to share with you guys, and I'll find it here in a second. I promise you I will. Let's see, where is it? No, it's not there. You think I'd have this? Oh, wait a minute. There it is. There it is. Okay, we're going to share this with you, Charlie. We're going to be right back, and what I have to share with you is. There we go. Well, we can keep Charlie on the screen. If you have anything to say, Charlie, you're welcome to. Although this isn't the automation that iHeart uses. Tell you what, I'll just put this full screen. How about that? Air, AIIR. That's a company that liked this automation system so much they actually bought it. It's the Playout One automation system, and Playout One is a lot of people are loving this automation system. It is at the same time, it is truly simple and extremely capable. They keep adding features to it, and when they do it in ways that maintain the same kind of user interface. So if you already know how to use Playout One, you typically know how to use the things that they add to it. Now, I'm a fan of Playout One because for several years now, Kirk Harnack has been using Playout One at his radio stations. As you may or may not know, I'm part owner of about 21 radio stations. We have stations in Mississippi, Arkansas, Hawaii, 2 different islands in Hawaii, and in American Samoa. And now at all of our stations, every single one of them, we use Playout One automation. Playout One is Windows-based, and it operates very, very reliably in Windows. And there are some good reasons why it does that. But this also means that if you know how to manipulate Windows and file folders and how to make network connections and things like that, then you already know how to make Playout One sing and dance. So Playout One does voice tracking. They have this remote voice tracker that is just amazing. It's called WebVT. And we've got probably 24 voice trackers at our stations who do voice tracking with Playout One. Now, as a new sponsor, I want to tell you, I've been doing ads for a couple of weeks for Playout One, just telling you how much I like it. But I haven't been giving you a lot of technical information about Playout One. Well, that's coming because Ricky, the CEO of Playout One, Ricky is going to be featured on the program with us in some 60-second ads to tell us more about Playout One. In the meantime, I highly encourage you to check this out. Go to AIIR.com and look for Playout One Pro. We just put 8 more of them on the air in Hawaii, and they're running 8 stations of ours, and they're doing it very, very well. Really appreciate the guys at Playout One and all that they do. Thanks, Playout One, for sponsoring This Week in Radio Tech. All right, back to Charlie and Kirk. And Charlie, let's just go ahead and set this up. You got surprised, well, almost surprised by a snowstorm with ice. Kind of set up the day or 2 or 3 before this thing hit you guys in the Florida Panhandle, and give us the story from the beginning.
Well, we were warned about it about the Friday before it happened. It happened, actually started snowing here Tuesday afternoon, last Tuesday afternoon. And then I guess we knew about it on Friday. So Monday I went to all my sites, and the only thing I knew to do, because we don't have ice here that often, I keep hearing people talk, well, just lower it down to 50%, you'll be all right. So I did. And all but one case that worked fine. One of them wanted to fall back. It wouldn't go back any lower than 50%. I had to go manually drop it to 30% because it did not want to stay on the air. But I took care of that quite quickly, and we'll have some pictures here in a few minutes about why that particular site was so persnickety about the ice. I mean, we're in Florida. We don't need radomes. We don't need heaters. We need strong towers for hurricanes. And so we put out our money. We buy good antennas, but we just don't buy the radomes or the heaters because they're never used. And this particular snowstorm was a new record. As a matter of fact, in Milton, Florida, which is a little bit northeast of Pensacola, they had 10 inches of snow.
Wow.
We had, based on my different sites, it was different at different sites, but we had anywhere from 3 to 6 inches at our different sites. And at one particular site, the one I was mentioning a few minutes ago with all the ice, it had a lot of ice in addition to snow. It got hit. I mean, we'll show a picture here in a few moments of that tower down at Port St. Joe, which is the tower itself is only 3 miles inland from the Gulf of Mexico. And you would think that the warm Gulf waters, yada, 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 we wouldn't have any problems. And that was the one I had the most problem with, was that one. And it literally iced up. And I've got a picture I took. I didn't even notice it when I came in because I was in a hurry to get the station back on the air. But when I was leaving the site, I looked up at the tower as I was driving out the road, and I saw, whoa, look at all that ice. And then I went back, and then I realized, looking at the ground, there were these big chunks of ice about the size of my fist that were coming off the tower. And it just started to thaw.
Let's see if we can go ahead and show that,
yeah.
Charlie. Let's see here if I can do this right. Let's see. Nope, that's not right. I got another way to get this done here. Let's see if we can get this back. There we go. We got the background on. That's a little bit helpful. And then we get rid of the bug. And now here is the tower that you were talking about.
There's the tower, and you can see the ice in the pine trees.
Mm-hmm.
You can also see the tower is heavily iced, and the antenna is also heavily iced. And luckily, I've always carried a hard hat around with me in my truck.
Mm-hmm.
And when I went to go in the building, I had my hard hat because I mean, you saw there. I think I put a picture there, Kirk, of the pig. There. That was just one little place, and that was when I first got there because it was just beginning to thaw out. When I left, there was probably 3 times those chunks, and some of them were as big as, like I said, as big as my fist, and they would really put a hurting on you if they hit you.
I mean, when they reach the ground, they're almost going, I would say, terminal velocity. If they had fallen 1,000 feet, that would be well over 100 miles an hour.
And they were on the guy wires as well. So it wasn't just right there at the tower. It was all out away from the tower. And one of the roadway going into the site is also a guy path. So it was amazing.
Can you imagine? I'm getting hit by a piece of ice. It falls off the top or near the top or off a guy wire from this thing. I mean, that'd be like getting hit by a Major League Baseball fastball.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And we were on generator at this particular site. We lost power there because of some icing on some trees that the limbs actually leaned over onto the 3-phase coming in, and so when I was coming in, I noticed that two of the 3 jacks were down on the underground feed. It's actually comes down a transmission line right away. It comes to a pole, and then it goes underground under the big high line, and then it goes back up on a pole. But right there where it exited the underground going on down the road to the tower site, I had 2 jacks that dropped, and so obviously we had no had no power except for the 1 phase that was there, and all that was lighting up was a little bit of rack equipment, and that was it. But anyhow, the transmitter wasn't happy, and I had to go back down there another day later and bring it back up to full power, and everything's been happy since. Knock on wood. We were on generator at that site for about 20 hours. On that particular site.
You seem like the kind of engineer that keeps your generators tested and ready to go, because during the summer you've got thunderstorms, and of course every few years you've got the threat of a hurricane or an actual hurricane.
Yeah. Back when we had Hurricane Michael, when we lost the STL tower at the studio, I had 2 radio stations that were just dead carriers. They were on the air, but they just had no audio. And which we fixed rather quickly, but we had the only 2 we had on the air after the hurricane were fed with underground fiber from AT&T, and we were able to keep our audio on there. But our power was not a problem during the hurricane. We had power; it was just generator power. It wasn't commercial power, and commercial power didn't come back for, in some cases, 2 weeks. At one of my sites, it was 2 weeks. I had to rebuild. I forget how many, maybe 12 or 15 miles of 3-phase down a highway, and then cut off on another road, and then into the site.
Charlie, I've got a question that you may not be able to answer because you don't have much experience with this, but I was wondering about. When ice gets on an FM transmitting antenna, it essentially detunes the antenna.
Right.
And so the transmitter is not happy. So we're going to talk in a few minutes about various methods that transmitters use to fold themselves back to reduce their power automatically. You said you went and did it manually in anticipation of this because you really weren't sure of the behavior of your foldback systems, and that's understandable. But just as the show was starting, you and I were talking about RF STLs, because you said that your company is going largely to fiber-based studio to transmitter links, and I get that, and I'm a believer in that kind of technology. I was wondering, I haven't experienced myself much in the way of icing of STL antennas. What happens to 950 megahertz transmitting antennas or receiving antennas, for that matter, when they get loaded up with ice? Have you any experience with this?
No, I don't. And I did not notice. But I will say this. I did look at my signal strengths on my Mosley Starlinks, and that go to Owenwood Road, and then to this particular one we just had the pictures of, which is a CD link, an old Harris CD link, which I use as a backup. That I primarily use IP at that site, and I have the CD link as a backup. and didn't notice any change in signal strength. There may have been when the heavy ice was there after, because I wasn't able to get to the site.
Yeah.
They had roads closed and they wouldn't allow, and there were there's two bridges. I have to cross one of two. I can go one way or I can go another way, and there's bridges, but these bridges cross the intercoastal waterway. So they have to be very, very tall. And so those bridges were closed. Nobody went across,
Wow.
because all you do is go up there and you slide right back down, So I had to wait till the bridges were open before I could even go to that site.
So yeah, I take it your roads were all ice covered.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
And snow covered. They were ice covered. Was weird. Closer to the coast, it was ice.
Mm-hmm.
Further inland, it was heavy snow. There was snow also by the coast, but not as much. The further you went inland, the more snow there was. And people talk about a dry snow and a wet snow and a heavy snow and a light snow. I don't know. I would call this a heavy snow if I have it right. It was a heavy snow, big flakes.
We're gonna. You got some pictures from elsewhere around the area. We're gonna look at in a few minutes. How? Look, I have driven on sheer ice miles and miles to transmitter sites up Interstate 55 through Missouri to get to Frenchman's Bayou, Arkansas, and I said Missouri, I'm in Arkansas, and miles on ice, and the only other vehicles near the road were jackknife tractor trailers. In other words, nobody was on the road. In fact, at that time, my work vehicle was a Nissan 300ZX. Yeah. And that sucker would go great on the ice because I knew how to drive it. And even on the ramps, you'd ramp and they curved. And if I took it just the right speed where I didn't feel pushed to the left or pushed to the right, it would go right up that ramp. Well, I got to tell you, I got up to the state road, and I'm going on this road is straight for miles, probably 15 miles. It doesn't take a bend. And I'm driving up this thing. I'm getting ready. I see the crossroad that's going to go to the transmitter site. And I start braking. Nothing happens. That car slid for, I swear, half a mile. And I wasn't going that fast. I was probably going 30 miles an hour when I started.
Yeah.
And I slid for half a mile. And of all things, I came to almost a stop just at the point where I had to turn. I can't believe it. What?
Well,
and then go ahead.
I don't have a whole lot. In fact, I have zero experience driving in snow and ice.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and so I tried to keep it between 20 and 25, but maybe I was being a little bit chicken, but over conservative, but I kept it between 20 and 25 while we had the ice on the roads.
Yeah.
But I had a 4-wheel drive pickup truck, and I kept it in 4-wheel drive. I don't know if that was a good thing or not, but it sounded to me, it sounded like the right thing to do. But anyhow, that's my operating speed in ice. It's about 20 to 25.
I'm sure a lot of our listeners and viewers, we have plenty of advice about driving on ice. My advice is you don't want the slow, and you don't want to put pressure left or right, because then you get bad things happening. Yeah. Hey, we're talking to Charlie Wooten. Charlie, what's your title these days with iHeart? Regional
engineer this week.
Okay.
There's a little private joke going around right now. It's regional technician, but if there are any iHeart people watching this, they'll get a chuckle out of that. Regional technician.
And you oversee about how many transmitter sites?
8.
Okay.
8 in 2 markets. I have Panama City and Tallahassee. And
at least a couple of these sites are pretty big sites, aren't they?
Yeah, a couple of those are big. One of the ones at Tallahassee, I've got 3 full power FMs and 2 translators on it. I got a combiner for the translators, and I got a combiner for the high power stations.
Mm-hmm.
And then in Panama City, I've got a site with 2 big stations here, the country station and the AC station. They're a bulk of our income here, and they're on the same tower. 1150 foot tie rod.
Charlie, I tell you, I can't wait to get some feedback, excuse me, in comments on Facebook and YouTube, because here, you know, I have a little bit of experience with snow and ice. You have almost none, and you weathered through. You did some preemptive things, and you've got sites that are good sites anyway, because you're a hell of a good engineer. But I'm eager to hear from some other engineers when they make comments about, well, here's what you should do. And of course, how long has it been since you've had a snow and ice storm, anything like this, Charlie?
Well, honestly, we never had one like this.
Mm-hmm.
We've had one a little, probably 2 inches less than this, 1989.
Mm-hmm.
And the only one I can think of before that would be when I was in the 3rd grade in 1958.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, we have flurries. We'll have flurries every 2 or 3 years, but if flurries, by the time they hit the ground, they melt, or they may stay for an hour, you know, or whatever. But nothing like this.
Wow. Well, and so this is why you don't have radomes or heaters,
right?
Because if I was an antenna salesman, I just keep those brochures in the briefcase when I go visit you.
Yeah.
We're talking to Charlie Wooten. He's regional engineer at iHeart. It's This Week in Radio Tech. I'm Kirk Harnack, and doing the technical directing myself today. So, you know, if there's mistakes, it's all my fault. It's not Suncast's fault. Also, Chris Tarr's feeling under the weather. We hope he's back next week. But we're talking to Charlie Wooten about the incredible snowstorm that they had. They had 10 inches of snow in Milton, not far from Pensacola. And so we're going to have more information about this, including we're going to talk to Charlie about, you know, these automatic power control circuits and versus foldback circuitry in transmitters, and what we know about those and maybe how they operate differently. Also want to talk to Charlie about generators in cold weather. He didn't have any problem, but I have had a few problems myself. So we're going to talk about that coming up. Our show This Week in Radio Tech is brought to you in part by Broadcast Bionics. And we're going to talk about a product we haven't seen for a while here, and that is some call screening software that is in use around the world. And if you're not using it yet, maybe you should be. It's called X-Screen.
X-Screen 2, the simply amazing new way to control, screen and log calls using your Telos HX6, IQ6 or VX Talk Show systems, helping you to get the best calls to air quickly and easily. X-Screen 2 is a powerful touchscreen interface that connects alongside your VSET 6 or VSET 12 handsets, and even enables you to screen directly on your PC using a USB headset or sound card. X-Screen 2 clearly displays the status of lines and hybrids, quickly captures caller details for screening, and automatically stores a log of calls and easily manages station and show directories of important numbers. There's also a scheduling clock and chat window for instant messaging and visual talkback to other X-Screen workstations on the system. As soon as a line rings, the caller's name is displayed, if they've rung before, and we can look up their location. X-Screen also usefully shows how many times they've called before and when they last called. You can add alerts to identify nuisance or persistent callers before you've even answered the call. To route a call to the VSET or headset, simply click on the handset symbol, exactly as you would use the button on the VSET. Using the other icon on the line, we can hold the call or route the call to a hybrid. Selecting an alternative device will change the icon key so you'll always know the destination of the call. The tabs on the right-hand side provide more information and control the selected caller. We can add this caller to a caller directory or create a manual entry for someone we call regularly. Calling someone is as simple as just clicking dial on their entry. A free version of X-Screen is included with your HX6, IQ6 and VX Talk Show system. The full version of the software enables the caller database, directories and alerts and other cloud-based features. All Telos customers can try the full version for 3 months by downloading the free trial. More information is available by contacting Broadcast Bionics or your local dealer.
Thanks a lot to Broadcast Bionics for sponsoring This Week in Radio Tech. You can download this software and use it with all the features for 90 days. And if you don't want to pay for it, you lose a few features, but you can still do call screening with it. And if you want to subscribe to it, you can certainly do that and keep all the features. Check it out at xscreen2.com. It's from Broadcast Bionics at bionics.co.uk. All right, it's Kirk Harnack and Charlie Wooten. Charlie is here from Florida, and we're talking about the incredible snowstorm that they had. Charlie, if you would remind me, you had like 10 inches of snow at, was it Milton, Florida?
Milton, yeah.
Okay.
About 80 miles west of here.
All righty. Hey, tell you what, I was going to ask you about some transmitter things, but let's take a quick look at some of these pictures that you have provided. Let me see if I can get this up on screen. And there we go. I'm going to just try to go in order here. All right. Well, I don't see any snow here. What's this we're looking at?
Well, at the end of the month, I'm going to be going to Croatia to operate with a group of hams, and that's one of their many antennas they have at this site. It's international DX contest that will be held the first weekend in March. The call sign over there is 9A1A, and it's a big contest station, and they have a nice antenna farm, as we say.
You know, I told you that that I was all ready with the pictures, and I don't see that I have finished uploading the pictures from your hunt club. So I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to put that off a little bit. I thought I had, but apparently I hadn't. So we're gonna go back to you and me. How about that?
Yeah. We can talk about generators and APC and fallback if you'd like to.
Yeah, so I'm curious about generators, and Charlie, you have you post on Facebook pretty regularly about generator maintenance and things like that. So does our friend Charles Kinney. He posts a lot about that as well. And you and Charles are good friends, aren't you?
Yeah, we are. Well, Charles grew up in Panama City.
Oh, he did. Okay.
Yeah, and his father, Reed Kinney, used to be the chief engineer here for WPAP, one of our iHeart stations, years ago. Wow. And Reed was what we called in the business back in the day a combo man. He was the chief engineer and he was morning drive. Okay. So anyhow, so Charles got to know broadcasting at a very early age, to say the least. Wow. And I haven't seen any posts from you and Charles having dinner together and having a bottle of GoldenEye together. Well, we will be here soon. Captain Anderson's restaurant opens up on February the 6th. Charles is listening, and we will have our bottle of GoldenEye that we always have. He probably gets to imbibe it more than I do in Atlanta, but it's Captain Anderson's is the only place you can get it here in Panama City. I think I've had a GoldenEye maybe about a year ago, and man, you guys are big spenders. That is not a cheap variety. Well, I'm going to say this wrong. Is it sommelier? Is that how you say it? Sommelier? Yeah. No, you got it. That's it. That's the guy that serves your wine. Me and well, I have to put this back to Charles Kinney. Charles Kinney and John George always eat at this place in Las Vegas during NAB called Hugo Cellar, which is in the bottom of the Four Queens down on Fremont. Yeah. And he is the one who recommended to them this particular wine. And that's how they got started drinking it. So it's a tradition to go to the Hugo Cellar in the basement of Four Queens on Fremont Street during NAB and have their excellent food and have a bottle or two of GoldenEye. And I mean, this place is so cool. It's like old Las Vegas. Yeah. And it's red velvet. You know what I mean? It's got red velvet chairs and big air, and you can just see in your mind's eye, a couple of guys from New Jersey who work for the mob over making a deal in the corner of this place because it's dark. It's called the Cellar, and it's dark, but it's a cool place to eat, and the food is absolutely phenomenal.
Now, is this where you've made all your transmitter and antenna deals?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Maybe hey, I've got some 3-inch coax I'd like to see.
Hey, you're interested in little heliacs? Because you can't get heliacs anymore. But I've got
that's
some
right.
heliacs.
Yeah. So back to the question of generators. And that was a good sidebar right there. But on generators, you got a lot of experience. My only experience with generators and cold weather, it had been cold for days, if not weeks, in Arkansas. This same site that I described earlier, sliding to get to it, and chunks of ice falling off that tower as well. And it turned out that the generator wouldn't run because the day tank wouldn't replenish from the main tank. This was all outdoors, and the tank was separate, and the line went across the concrete pad. It appeared that the diesel fuel had gelled up. I won't say frozen, but had gelled up. Right. And so here I am on a cold day with a propane torch I happen to have in the building, heating up the fuel line. And I'm thinking, is this smart or is this stupid? Yeah. But it worked. I ended up, I got fuel in the day tank, and generator eventually started, and everybody's happy. And I just had a few bruises on my back from ice hitting my back at 100 miles an hour.
Yeah.
So,
well, down here, our generators, we have Onan generators, Cummins Onan, and they are all, the tank is integrated with the generator. The generator sits on top of the tank, and the generators, of course, have block heaters in them, and they get their feed right out of the tank. And so we don't use a day tank or anything like that. They're fed straight up out of the big tank. And so we didn't have any situation where we had any fuel problems. I don't think it actually got cold enough. I don't know what the freezing temperature or the gelling temperature of diesel is, but I don't think we had that. If we did, we probably didn't have it long enough for it to really do any harm to the fuel.
Gotcha.
It was just, we were lucky in that regard.
So do you have advice for people thinking about a generator? And at a big site, it may be easy enough to justify a big generator, a proper generator that has a tank under it, and all the accoutrement that goes along with a big proper generator, including a budget for maintenance. Do you have generators at smaller sites as well? And if you do, what kind of generators do you choose for those?
Our smallest site would be our AM site in Tallahassee, and it's a 5 kW AM, and we actually have a 40 kW generator at that site. That's the smallest we have. Here at this building we're in now, we have a 200 kW, which came in real handy during Hurricane Michael, because we had like 12 families living in various offices in this building, and we were able to enjoy air conditioning and all of the comforts of home, so to speak, without any problems. We even had our internet here, because part of our internet came in on AT&T underground fiber, which was underground fiber all the way to the central office, and so we were able to have those amenities, so to speak, during the hurricane. But all of our generators are nominally 125 or 150s, and they're all Onan with Cummins engines, and they're all diesel.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay. But you don't have a site with a generator that you've got to pull out of the building and hook up with a cord and pull a ripcord. Okay, good.
No, everything is automatic start and automatic switch over.
And I'm sorry if you already said, do you have any that are run on natural gas or propane? Or are they all diesel? They're all diesel.
No, everything is diesel.
Do you have any feelings about propane or natural gas generators?
No, I don't have anything negative or anything. I mean, one of my best friends works for the natural gas company in this area, And one of the local, I know at least one of the local TV stations here operates their generator off of natural gas, but we just always done diesel, and we've got very good relationship with our local fuel people who even in the worst of conditions will come and keep our generators going. And we also have an agreement with local emergency management because we are the primary EAF stations, and especially after Hurricane Michael, because we were the only ones on the air, so they know we have a track record of staying on the air. That we have access to the county's fuel supply at the county yard. Of course, we have to pay for it, but it's available for us to use, and then we pay for it forever how much we have to use if we were getting into a really bad situation. Fortunately, we have never gotten in that situation. Even during Hurricane Michael, we were able to get fuel to our generators through our local jobber or through the iHeart contractor. They had Infinity out of North Carolina who did a lot of the fueling work at our transmitter sites and our studios after Hurricane Michael.
Gotcha. I want to put off our discussion on the automatic power control because you mentioned earlier about your AM station, and I keep reading some headlines here in the last couple of days about the AM for every vehicle bill being reintroduced, and
Right.
and some controversial statements between what the guy who's the head of the CTA and of course NAB. How do you feel radio was in general, whether it was your AM or your FM, in getting needed information out to your residents in the Florida Panhandle and probably lower Alabama as well, about this snowstorm and what they needed to do to stay safe or stay warm?
Well, AM in some cases has been more reliable than FM because the towers are shorter. They're not as susceptible to wind, even though I have to say in the same breath that I lost 300-foot towers in a directional array on 590 here during Hurricane Michael. But the other side of that coin is we were able to get a long wire up and get the station back on the air. If you lose a 1,000-foot FM tower and you were running 100,000 watts, it's not going to be that simple to get something up in the air to equal that coverage or even approach half that coverage in a big hurry. So AM has its place, and I really hope that AM continues to be available, and I'm really interested to see what these new AM digital tests that people are running or how that works.
Yeah, and AM. I guess the way I feel about it, AM has its place. And what's kind of important is that it's already in place. We've had AM stations for 100 years now.
Yeah.
And we have transmitter sites all across the country. Granted, they're not all in great shape. The economics of AM day to day in most communities is not great, but we have the infrastructure. It's all there, and it does work.
If you look at the arbitrons and you look at, and this is only in very successful AM station, AM markets where you have a news talk in maybe the top 50 markets. AM radio stations are right in there with the rest of them. That they're not way down the ladder. I was looking. I get this thing from Inside Radio every day, and I get the ratings, and you look on those, and like WSB in Atlanta, the AM, number 2. Sometimes number 1, WLW in Cincinnati the same way. But it varies with the market. It's not just because you're 50,000 watts, not just because you're on a clear channel. It varies with the station itself, how well it the programming, the quality of the programming. Especially if it's news talk, and most of these are news talk. FM, although it makes news talk sound really clear and cool and all of that, News talk is a perfect format, in my opinion, for AM radio.
Sure.
Just, I'm not so sure it's the best thing for music, but if you're going to play oldies or something like that, maybe perhaps it is. But AM is perfect for news talk. That's my opinion. Throw bricks at me now.
Hey, we are talking to Charlie Wooten, and he's in Florida. He's been in Florida you've been in Florida all your life, for most of it.
I was born and raised right here in Panama City.
Okay. All right.
1949.
All right. We're talking about the incredible snowstorm that they had and his response to it and how the stations all went. And by the way, I want to make a quick mention here. Charlie, look at this. We got a comment here from Hal Neller, and he says, "It's good we live in Florida." Now, this is a feature on This Week in Radio Tech that we normally don't have. But since we are actually streaming, because Kirk is making mistake after mistake, punching up the show here on Facebook, if you're watching live on Facebook, you can make a comment too. And it might just show up here. So that'll be on
be careful what you say.
Be careful. Well, I have some degree of ultimate control, but thanks, Hal. Good to see you. Hal made that comment a half hour ago. It took me that long to realize it. So anyway, it's Kirk here with Charlie Wooten, and our show is brought to you in part by our good friends at Innovonics and SCMS. Let me give you a full screen here. I want to talk about the Innovonics Sophia HD radio site streamer. I love this box. I was just using the HD radio site streamer, the Model 568 from Innovonics. I was just using it last week in Hawaii. And the reason I was using it is because we were setting up our FMs, our HDs there. We have HD 1, 2, 3, and 4 on one of our FM stations on Maui. And of course, the HD 1 is a duplication of the FM signal. But then we have the other stations as well, the other HDs. And I had to hook all that up, make it work, make it sound good, get the loudness to be good and strong on each of them, and get the processing right. And I'm just delighted with how the Sophia HD radio site streamer made all that sound. Then, believe it or not, I was actually using the site streamer to stream HD audio to me as received on the air this morning. This morning, I needed to do a software upgrade to a few pieces of equipment at the station in Maui. And when I did, it was going to take each of the FMs off the air for about 30 seconds. So I just wanted to make sure that they came back on the air, which they did. But I was assured of that because the site streamer streamed received and decoded audio from our HD signals to me here in Nashville, Tennessee. The site streamer is just awesome. And here's what Eric Juteau of Octave Communications says. We love it, and so do our clients. The Sophia 568 builds on top of what the Innovonics 638 FM and HD site streamer already offers. Upgraded web interface, rich station logo, artist experience feature set, extra quality metrics, or support for multi-user streaming and audio output options. By the way, speaking of audio output options, this thing not only has analog output on XLR connectors, but it also has AES EBU on an XLR connector. And so I've just run that into my Axia system. So we've got digital AES EBU from the site streamer into my Axia system, and I can pick it up on all of our consoles for off-the-air listening. Yes, I know it's delayed. We don't use headphones on that feed. We just use that as a quality check. So, man, really appreciate this box from Innovonics. And let's see if I can possibly change how this is working now to get me back on the air and tell you that this is from our friends at BGS, Broadcasters General Store. The website is bgs.cc. You can call them at 352-622-7700. BGS is not too far down the road from Charlie Wooten. They're in Ocala, Florida. But it doesn't matter where they are. They get stuff shipped to you quickly. They got our site streamer shipped to us on Maui quickly. So we appreciate the folks at BGS for sponsoring This Week in Radio Tech. Thanks so very much. I'm talking to Charlie Wooten. He's our guest this week after this news-making event in Florida. So, Charlie, we were about to talk about this thing about automatic power control. I've got so many different brands of transmitters at different sites, and they all seem to behave differently with regard to the idea of foldback, which is, intended for a transmitter to preserve itself, right? If it's got reflected power, it reduces its forward power to also reduce its reflected power so it doesn't hurt itself or overheat or damage components. And then there's also this thing called APC, automatic power control. And Charlie, what's your understanding of these two functions? Are they two very different functions, or might they be combined in the same sort of thing?
Well, they can be combined in the same thing, but I consider them two separate things. Like in Tallahassee, I have several different brands of transmitters. I have a Nautel GV30 in Tallahassee with the ferrites on the coax, in case Jeff is listening. I have BE30T in Tallahassee. It's got an APC control on it. You push a button and, but I had to go over and I didn't have that remoted. I have power raise and lower remoted, but I wanted to disable the APC. I didn't want the APC to say, hey, what's going on? I'm going to bring the power back up. So I disabled the APC and turned the power down. And then I've got a Fax 30, Gates Air Fax 30 here in Panama City. And I've got a couple of HT25s, which have fullback. And I don't use the automatic power control on the HT35 because they can be problematic with running the screen up too high and giving you a screen overload and shutting the transmitter down. I learned that a long time ago, so I don't use the APC on the HT35s. But that being said, I just roll the power down and let it run at that. But it was something I wanted to show you. Because of what you were just doing in your commercial.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if you'll be able to see that or not. It'll be backwards probably.
Oh, I think I recognize that. No, it's forward. I can see it.
Yeah. That's actually my HD2 station in Tallahassee I was monitoring.
Yeah.
So anyhow, I wanted to do that before I forgot it. The APC I wanted to turn off because, like I said, I didn't want it to try to take control and bring it back up.
Oh, yeah.
And so I need to remote that function. I haven't done that in Tallahassee. It wasn't remoted up when I took over that market a couple of years ago. It wasn't remoted, and I really haven't done any changes over there as far as transmitter control and whatnot. So I need to do that. But we don't have ice here very often, so I don't even know if my fullbacks really work. They actually did. I found out later that they actually did, but at the same time, I didn't want to rely on them without knowing that they worked. And so I went around proactively, I guess you'd say, to all my sites and reduced them to at least 50%. And in all cases, except that one we were talking about where I had the really heavy ice, it really needed to be down to 30% to be happy. Everything went fine. Now that I know about icing, I actually learned a lot during this icing. I know things to look for and things to worry about and not worry about that I was worrying about. So it goes both ways. But I just wasn't comfortable just saying the foldback will take care of it. I really didn't want to. Do that. I went back and looked at my log on my Fax 30, and it showed where it was folding back and everything. But I went ahead and put it at 50% beforehand, and it actually folded back below 50 for about 2 or 3 hours one day. So that was good to know that it worked, and they all worked. But I just, like I said, had no track record, so I didn't want to worry about that.
Yeah. I hear you. Well, tell you what, Charlie, we've learned a lot about this ice storm and how you handle it in a place where you normally deal with hurricanes and bad thunderstorms. Maybe a tornado now and then.
I would imagine the Yankees that are watching this, saying, that's just a little piddle ass snowstorm. There's nothing to it. What's all the excitement about? And I'm sure, that there are people that are probably thinking that, but for us down here in the South, this was a little bit strange.
Yeah. Well, hey, what if, I mean, there's been a hurricane or two that have gone way up the East Coast and into New Jersey and New York as terrible storms. So, we once in a while deal with things that are unusual.
Yeah.
So, wow. Hey, I tell you what, let's take a moment, a few moments to look at these pictures from Croatia. I don't have the Hunt Club pictures for you. I'm so sorry, but
Okay.
I got some Croatia pictures here. So let's see if we can get that on the screen here in just a second. I got to scroll around the different places. We saw this one earlier, and
that's a 4-element 40-meter beam. If there are any hams watching, they will appreciate that very much.
I got to ask you, or to well, tell us about this picture, and then tell us what's your motivation to go do this.
Well, 9A1A, this in Croatia, is one of the premier contest stations in the world. And I was lucky enough to become friends with some guys over there who, incidentally, a lot of them are broadcasters. One of the guys, Niksha, 9A5W, he actually was what we would call here vice president of engineering for a network. And so Niksha and I had a lot of good discussions. There was also Željko, 9A2DQ, who worked for Croatia radio and TV, or as they say over there, Hrvatska radio and TV. And then 9A7R, who was a transmitter supervisor at the big tower, which you have a picture of, that overlooks Zagreb.
Oh, wait a minute. Is that this tower?
Right there. He was in charge of that facility.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Of course, there's a lot of non-broadcast stuff on this tower, but there is a pile of broadcast stuff. Everything up there that's red and white, that's all FM and TV. And this picture was taken pre HD. So some of that stuff, what they call over there band 1, which would be our low VHF channels, has been taken down off of there. But there are, multiple TV stations and multiple FM stations into a combiner antenna there. And you can see it as an observation deck.
Yeah.
And now there's a restaurant inside that observation deck.
Of course. Yeah. Wow.
And it's quite a facility. And you say SLJEME, SLJEME is the way it's spelled. But it overlooks the city of Zagreb. And it's up about 3,500 feet above the city.
Wow.
But it's just a really, really neat location.
We got a couple others.
Brazzo, he was the transmitter supervisor. He has since retired in the last year or two.
Okay. Let's take a look at a couple other things we've got here.
Yeah.
We've got this beautiful picture.
They don't believe in rotators at 9A1A. They have antennas and antenna switches. So if we need to talk to Japan, we have an array pointed at Japan. If we want to talk to the United States, we have one. If we want to talk to South Africa, we have one. If we want to talk to the U.S. or Canada, we've got one. They're what we call VKZL, which is Australia, New Zealand. We have a set for that, and you switch them in. But it's quite a setup, and all of those towers and the antennas were, except for maybe the 40-meter beams, were all hand built. The towers and the antennas. So,
and is all this at the 9A1A facility?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is that in Zagreb?
Yeah, it's a little village called Croatia, which is about 25 or 30 miles southwest of Zagreb, is where they have this. And the reason they picked this particular location is because during World War II, the Germans discovered that the ground conductivity in this area was really high. And so that was where the area where they had a lot of their communications. The German army had some of their communication sites around this area.
Now, I always get a kick out of this photo, and I always wonder, what is Charlie drinking here? Is it an adult beverage?
It is an adult beverage. That's called a Karlovačka. It's some of the best beer you've ever tasted.
Mm-hmm.
You don't drink it to get drunk. You drink it because it tastes good.
Uh-huh.
And the secret to that beer tasting good is that you do not get it cold. You don't want it like a PBR. You'd want it to be at 34 degrees. You want to drink this at about 45 to 50 degrees.
Interesting.
And it is really good. It really seriously tastes great. And I'm at an operating position there in their building. This is, as you can see from the CRT terminals, this is probably a 2005 photo, 2004, 2005. And just above my head, you'll see a black box there with two knobs on it. That's a very large amplifier. And that's all I'm going to say about that. It's just a very large amplifier.
I've got another picture here that we ought to take a quick look at.
The guy in the red shirt, that's Niksha, 9A5W. He is the guy that used to run. He's now retired. He ran Hrvatska Radio and TV Engineering, which became OIV, which is their company that handles all of the towers in Croatia, all of the broadcast towers, and a lot of the communication towers for cell companies and for communications for the government and other, just PT, any kind of telephone communications. That company OIV is now that took out, basically takes care of the RF portion of Croatian radio and TV now.
Gotcha. And we have, I think this is the last picture.
Since we were talking about ice,
mm-hmm.
This is a picture of the antennas. During an ice storm, you'll notice the elements are sagging, and luckily none of them were damaged, but they did sag quite a bit.
Yeah.
During this ice storm, and that's about it.
Wow, that's something else. Let me get us back in the slot here. There we go. All right. Wow, Charlie, tell you what, we're going to have a tip of the week coming up in a couple of minutes. I hope you can come up with something that's useful to our listeners and viewers on whatever topic you like, whether it's ice or preparedness or something totally different, whatever has been on your mind here lately. I'm Kirk Harnack, and this is This Week in Radio Tech. And I've been hope you've been enjoying it too, talking with Charlie Wooten. Don't go away. We're not finished yet. We've got a little bit more to do. I've got to see if we can figure out how to get this. I'm going to share this way so I can change it as we go. Let's see if we can get this on the screen. Oh, here we go. Let's get a full screen. This portion of the show is brought to you by Angry Audio. And this is one of my favorite things that they make. It's the USB analog audio gizmo. Now, you can buy audio interfaces for USB for computers. You can buy those all day long. I mean, some as cheap as $50 or $70 or so, and then they go up from there. This one is the one you want for professional broadcast applications. Why? Well, there's a technical reason why. This one actually sounds excellent, and it can actually handle peaks in and out of up to 24 dBm. How they do that is just amazing with the power supplies that are inside. And, the way that Angry Audio has designed to actually break the ground between the computer and the analog audio system. And this means the noise floor is reduced dramatically. This also means that you don't get a lot of the hum and whine that you might normally get from USB audio cards. And I've tried several where I have gotten hum and whine, even though I was doing everything right, but grounds just weren't very happy with it. Well, this fixes that problem. I have installed several of these USB analog audio gizmos, solve problems, perfect audio, absolutely love it. And this is available from Angry Audio. So get the USB audio gizmo. You can read about it here at angryaudio.com. You read about, I'm not going to read the page to you, but just let me tell you, this dude is heavy. It feels professional because it is professional, and you will be delighted with it. Also comes with the cables that you need. Look at that. It comes with, hello, I know they want you to sign up, and I already have. Okay. They want you, they give you the cables that you need to get audio in and out, including the Studio Hub adapters for male and female XLRs. So you do get XLR connections when you use the adapters. Or you may be like me and just you're plugging this into some kind of Axia or other AOIP system that already has Studio Hub RJ45s. You can just use a piece of Cat5 cable and you don't need the adapters. You can put those in the drawer and use them for something else. And it comes with a super high quality USB cable. So check this thing out from Angry Audio, the USB analog audio gizmo. Thanks a lot, Angry Audio, for sponsoring This Week in Radio Tech. In fact, I'm going to go see Mike Dosh tomorrow and pick up some more goodies for my own stations. Hey, our show also brought to you in part by Max Connect Wireless. And Max Connect, well, what they do is they give you prioritized, and that's a key word here, prioritized high-speed LTE internet service designed for broadcast applications. Whether you're doing remote broadcasts or whether you need internet, excuse me, at a transmitter site, you can get it done. And it's a fixed IP address. So you have a fixed IP address, and that means your firewalls are going to work well with it. You can have white lists of who can access it, and all that works well. And they keep improving the LTE modems that work with this. And it works on a variety of carriers as well. And there's a little thing from me explaining about how they work. Thank you very much. But now they have a new service where you can actually get internet satellite data service with LTE as a backup. So let's say it's a remote site, the dish fills up with snow, and guess what? Your LTE takes over. And they have a really smart LTE router that will, prioritize which service is going to be in use. That way you can keep your data costs down and still have good service to your transmitter site. So check this out from Max Connect. They've really got the package together. If you give them a call or send them an email, that you can do the contact us page right there, and give them a call or get in touch, and they will be glad to help you out. I love this from Max Connect. It all started out with our friend Josh Bone, who has really done a great job with Max Connect and getting this going. Thanks, Josh, for sponsoring This Week in Radio Tech. I'm Kirk Harnack, and we're going to finish up our segment here with Charlie Wooten. He's got words of advice as if he were teaching a class, giving us what we need to know. Charlie, what's our tip of the week today?
Well, we talked about diesel fuel.
Yeah.
And we talked about freezing diesel fuel, but we haven't talked about diesel fuel that gets fungus in it. And so one of the things you need to do is to buy, if you have a diesel algae, it gets algae, fungus, whatever you want to call it. It actually grows in the diesel fuel if it sits there dormant. You need to buy a fungicide, an algicide to go into your fuel. They make it specially for diesel fuel, and put that in your diesel tanks. They all have they come with a measuring device that a measuring bottle that you use to be able to put the right dosage into however many gallons your tank is. So there's your little morsel, I guess we would say.
So I'm guessing that if you're an over-the-road trucker, you may not have to worry about this because you're using the diesel fuel every day. Yeah, but if that diesel fuel is going to sit there for weeks or months or a year,
yeah, you're constantly replenishing that tank, and so there's not any time for it to, like they say, what is it, a stone, an unturned, what is it about a stone in moss gathers no moss?
A rolling stone gathers no moss, but that diesel sitting there, it's not rolling anywhere, is it?
That's right. Yeah. So, that's basically it. Yeah.
Wow. It amazes me that there are algae or fungi that can grow in diesel fuel. Isn't that weird?
It's just like you would never think the diesel could freeze.
Yeah.
So whatever the organic compound in diesel fuel that is allowing it to freeze is probably the same thing that allows the algae to grow.
Where would you normally purchase algicide or fungicide for your diesel fuel?
You import it into the fuel spout.
No, I'm sorry. Where would you purchase that?
Most of your diesel places will have it. Diesel Cummins Oden Florida Detroit Diesel here in the state.
Ah.
Anywhere where they do diesel service work,
Mhm.
I'm sure that Amazon sells it.
Yeah, probably. They sell everything else.
Yeah.
All right. Charlie,
Sure. Diesel algicide.
diesel algicide. I will put that in the show notes. I'll look up a couple of them. And of course, obviously the recommendation is to ask your diesel, what do they call them? Jobbers, whoever's delivering your diesel wholesaler.
Yeah, the jobbers would probably have it. Yeah.
And
And they have the treatments they want to sell you too.
You know what? I need to go say hi to my next door neighbor. His family owns a fuel distribution company here in the Nashville area. So, yeah. So,
well, I've enjoyed it.
I've enjoyed it too, Charlie. Thank you for joining us, and I hope the rest of your week goes well. And I hope snow is not a problem for you anymore.
I don't think it will be.
All right. Thanks so much. Charlie Wooten, the Regional Engineering Director at iHeart, has been with us. And hey, we're going to go. Thanks a lot for putting up with my bad technical direction on this show. I sure hope that Suncast is back with us next week. He's on a cruise. He's having a great time. He's posted a few pictures on Facebook of having a great time. So Suncast, my salute you. I'm glad you're taking a week off and having a good time in the sun, and hope it doesn't snow on you in the Gulf of whatever it is, America, Mexico, Buc-ee's, whatever it is. We're going to see you next week, though. We'll see you next week on This Week in Radio Tech. Bye-bye.